on Tuesday, April 28th.
Mayor Marshall.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cassidy.
Here.
Councilmember Ponce.
Here.
Councilmember Lavelle.
Here.
And via teleconference, Councilmember De La Rosa. Sarah, are you still there?
Here.
Thank you.
Oral communication. This is an opportunity for people to address the council. No action will be taken on non-agenda items at this meeting. Speakers should limit comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any comments?
No comments so far, Mayor Marshall.
Okay, thank you very much. There are no consent calendar items and general business.
Okay, we have one item this evening, well, two items, but our first one is on the consideration, possible modification and clarification of the urgency ordinance that the City Council adopted on March 25th. It is Urgency Ordinance 1186-20. This ordinance deals with three different things. It had to do with commercial and residential eviction moratorium, curfew and loitering, and prohibition of transient occupancy in Avalon, and that was like our vacation rentals, all the CUs, and then the harbor. So the main reason we're here today is just to discuss that aspect of the urgency ordinance as it pertains to our harbor. And when we adopted that ordinance, it was we were very clear that we wanted to protect the liveaboards that were in our harbor, the businesses that were there, and anybody that had a boat currently in Avalon. That was our understanding when our ordinance was written. Since then, I've received 3 emails, and I know that the City Council, a few of you, have received communications from 3 of the individuals. If there's been more, I only was privy to 3 of those emails, and they are residents of Avalon, anywhere from being on the island for 1 month to 4 years. So we use the guidelines, the Harbor Department and myself, and so I will say the buck always stops with me, and JJ conferred with me. I agreed that he was following what was outlined in our ordinance and the intent of it. So with that, it was if you lived here on the island and you were either a liveaboard, you had a business, a waterside permit, or you had a boat, that you were able to stay in the harbor on our moorings. And now, as we all know, that Joe's Rented Boats puts in all their moorings in our summer season, and so that has kind of caused this trickle effect of, okay, I want to bring my boat over now to the island and I want to be able to put it in. Well, that's where we said no. If it wasn't here currently, you weren't able to bring the boat in. So unfortunately, that's landed in all 5 of your laps, so we are asking for clarification on that. I have provided wording for Section C of Section 5, subsection C, and I did put in there for full-time and part-time, only because I need a definition of what you consider a full-time resident. If it is what we use for our commuter subsidy program, which is 5 days a week. You live here 5 days a week, and for a minimum of 6 months, then you're able to apply for a commuter subsidy, because that's kind of our definition we use for a full-time resident. And if we use that, then 2 of the people that had sent emails wouldn't qualify to be able to put their boat in. So I'm putting that out there to you for you to further clarify what you want this ordinance to say. I only gave you possible wording for it, and mind that if we keep that part-time in there, I don't know what kind of trickle effect, and 3 weeks from now I could be back here going, the floodgates have opened. So we have to carefully consider this. JJ has made it from a deposition he was in, so if you have questions for him and how he's treating it at the harbor, he's in the audience.
Thank you, Denise. Would you like to start this?
Hello,
Sure.
Council.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, JJ.
Hello.
Is that really you?
I know, huh? I gotta go here if my glasses fog up and I can't see nobody.
So I think the reason we have this before us is because there is request from 3 persons to bring their boats into the harbor that currently aren't in the harbor. And one of the residents pled a case for the fact that he's been a resident here for 4 years. He's actually a reserve firefighter as well, so it's clear that he's a resident of Avalon. Has established that he's been on a mooring, on Joe's Runabout mooring for the last several years during that season, and is basically told that he's unable to bring his boat over here, but he is a resident. And so from my view of this and my intent in the order when at least I cast my vote was that residents should be able to have their vessels here in our waters, whether they own the mooring or not, because as you know, the boats that were here before don't all own their moorings either. Some of the boats that have come into the harbor have come in since the order went into effect, and it was sort of a, this is just what we do. One particular resident happened to ask and was told no. So I understand that if you try to read the letter of the law on this, it says non-city owned moorings. I went back and watched the video from March 25th and some clarifications from a question that came in from a member of the public, and it was very, very clearly stated that from you, JJ, that this does not apply to Avalon residents. So, I mean, I'm happy to spend an hour or two debating this, but in reality, there's 2 different scenarios in our packet tonight. There's a scenario from one person who's an established resident for 4 years, has established residency on moorings during the past 4 years, has a subsidy card, is actually an employee of the city of Avalon, and clearly is a resident. And then you have 2 other requests of persons who have not been able to establish residency here yet. And part of the trouble in establishing residency is that what is residency? We don't have anything in our ordinances that define what residency is. So in most of my research through the internet in different cities qualifying residency, it's basically in a place for a year or longer. So I can see the difficulty in choosing one versus the other 2, but being here for a month is not established residency. Being here for 4 months is not established residency, even by our own standards of being able to get a subsidy card. So I would not be in favor of the term or part-time that was in there, but I do believe the one gentleman who can substantiate his residency and on those moorings for the past 4 years should be allowed to bring his boat in. The other 2, not having a subsidy card or whatnot, that's clearly not residency at this time. Additionally, it just comes threefold that members, even though they own moorings in the harbor, we've had transient boats come into the harbor this last weekend of people who are not residents of this island. And so it's really hard for me to stand in front of an actual resident who lives here on the island year-round for the last 4 years who cannot enjoy his boat in our harbor, but yet somebody who lives in Long Beach, San Pedro, Marina del Rey can come over here and enjoy our harbor.
But they're mooring owners.
But they're more, I get that. And I understand that any owner has the right to come to their home or to their boat. It's just, it doesn't feel good under the circumstances to say no. So that's my case that I would like for us to review.
And at the same time, when looking at this, just like with all the ordinances, or the one like about the evictions and whatever, we didn't think, and they shouldn't be raising the fees, increasing the rates. So I think to come back and look at this isn't unprecedented. And I agree. Somebody was talking to me today about somebody else that lives in Avalon, been here for years. I don't remember who it is, and I know it's somebody JJ, but I can't think of who it was. That the boat's been over there because it's cheaper to keep it on the mainland than it is to pay mooring fees here, so that's why they do it. So for them to not be able to bring their boat back and enjoy it or let it sit there and I don't know if that person is a Jay's, I don't know who it is. I can't even think who it is right now. But so I'm in agreement with her, and so there's probably more than one or two, but that's fine. But on the full-time thing, yeah, if we have to start taking the part-timers on a case-by-case basis, that gets kind of crazy, and to define that too specifically seems rather difficult. But Lisa or Michael, or if you want to chime in at this point, JJ?
Okay. I just want to confirm one thing that you stated. The boats that came over this weekend were all mooring owners.
Yeah, I know, I'm aware.
So they weren't Joe Blow citizen coming in and sitting, because by legal standards we
Right.
cannot deny it.
Right.
So all the boats that we had this weekend were all mooring owners. We've taken it from the standpoint, if your boat is on the island, Caleb's, your front yard, and you want to put your boat in the water and bring it to the harbor, that's not a problem, because the boat's generated from here. When you go to the mainland and you leave your boat over there for weeks on end or whatever, then, I mean, you got caught up into a vortex that was totally not planned by anybody, but the bottom line was people got tired of watching other people come from the mainland, pick up a mooring, and then going down the street with four bags of toilet paper. And so when this went into effect, this has worked, I mean, with our city and the COVID-19, this has worked. It's one of those, I'm sorry it affects you, but it's not going to be for that much longer. So, however, we work for you. You give us, what you guys want us to do. But that's why I wasn't in favor of the part-time resident part, because if you match the residency criteria, and then your boat's over there, I still don't think it's a good idea, because people think, well, the boats don't have COVID-19 on it. But here's the deal. Study after study states that COVID-19 virus lasts, well over 24 hours on stainless steel if it's not cleaned. We have no way of knowing whether or not it's cleaned, not cleaned, and we got no way of enforcing that. So that's my issue with it. And I don't think that, I don't own a boat, so, I don't have a dog in the fight other than to do what you want us to do. But this thing's worked, and I just, have a real problem with you start opening it up to part-timers or whatever, or that's not going to be it.
Yeah.
Guy in Hamilton Cove that has a mooring, and then now he can come over, and he comes out of, LA County or Orange County, right at a hot spot. And what are we doing? Then I think we're going backwards.
But that mooring owner from Hamilton Cove can come over.
I'm sorry, say again?
But the mooring owner from Hamilton Cove currently can come over.
Mooring
correct?
owners, that's a legal issue.
No, I mean, why can't he? He owns the mooring. I thought that's...
Yeah, he can.
He can.
Right.
Illegal, but other than, I'm talking about a condo owner not owning a mooring.
So I liken this to, this ordinance that we put in place, the intention, and I can only speak for myself, there's only really two of us that can speak to this here. The intention was not to harm the residents.
No, totally.
And that was why we clarified, whether we could go in and out of the harbor and whatnot. And, so anyway, that's all clarified on the video from March 25th. I would 100% agree with you that a part-time is, I'm not going to jockey for that at all, but I do think that we are taking away a right to a resident that they have established all the guidelines to be here. And we're talking about right now one person. We're not talking about a barrage of people. And I understand your point about, yes, the COVID could live on stainless steel for 24 hours, but it could live on our mail too. It could be anybody who's going back and forth on the express boat, and our residents are traveling, and we do have boaters in the harbor that go over and get fuel, and other things. So the whole purpose of this was not to impact our residents. And I believe, and like I said, I'm really only think it's fair to plead the one case on this because the other two have not established residency. And I mean, no disrespect, but they have not established residency. So I just feel that this is denying a resident something that they have the right to, but that if we're so determined on making sure that there's no possible way that the COVID could come here, then I would like to change the ordinance that no mooring owners can come over in a transient way either. And I don't think that that's really what we want to do.
Well, and that's legally you can't.
Considered a taking. Okay, so from what I'm hearing from Councilmember Cassidy is that she would like to strike the word part-time, and the only reason that was put in there was to accommodate the other two citizens that had reached out. I would like clarification if you want us to follow the guidelines of what we used for the commuter subsidy program, and we could add that to section C also, but for right now, would it be full-time residents who reside in Avalon will be permitted to place and keep their boats in the harbor on city moorings and non-city moorings. And that allows them to be over on Joe's Rent-A-Boats.
And I would have, and very clearly, I would say if they're on Jay's moorings, established prior residency on those moorings. That it's not just that I've been here my 6 months, I just hit my 6-month point, now I want to bring a boat over and get a mooring. That I think is not, that's something different. I'm saying established residency here in the island, but this person has also established residency on moorings prior. And maybe that's not a big deal.
Well, so I'm a resident of Avalon and I go over and buy a boat tomorrow and I want to bring it over and Jay says he has room, could I do that?
Well, in your analysis.
No.
And I'm saying in my analysis, no.
No, exactly.
Okay.
But I think that, now.
Okay, but I'm sorry to interrupt. But the thing is, as of right now, this would only be through May 31st anyway.
Right.
Unless,
possibly.
But it's not forever.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just during the COVID thing. So at some point, I could then go get my boat and bring it over.
Right.
But I just wouldn't go shopping tomorrow. Okay.
But then that island. Well, now that you've changed the mooring rates. Now we're going 5 for 2 till June 15th, and then it goes nightly. You might end up saying 5 for 2 through July. I don't know, but I think you're getting too technical when you say on to Jay's, because we have moorings, and if they could be on
This
Jay's.
is Scott. If I could just say, one of the reasons that we've adopted the emergency ordinance is for health reasons, and the distinction between full and part-time is easy to understand because people who are part-time may be going over town more frequently because of the part-time nature of their residency. So there is a good health reason to draw a distinction between full-time and part-time people. I would have more difficulty making a health and safety distinction between whether you have whether for years ago you have established a mooring at Joe's versus you bought a new boat now and you're coming over for the first time, because it's the same impact on the city if you're full time. So I would recommend for legal purposes that we just strike out or part-time and leave the rest of it on the same, unless you want to also just add residents or as defined by the commuter subsidy program. That would be my legal recommendation.
Okay.
I think I figured out what he said.
I know, it took me a minute.
But since everything that we do in the community to do a deal for a local, it's always based on if you qualify for a subsidy card. So I think we should stick with that as the basis, and it's not going to be that long for those other two that this all goes away and they'll be able to come in. But right now, I think we stick with residents only.
The question that I have is that one of the 3 emails we received, they're a homeowner. Does that not play into?
No, because the homeowners, you can own a home here, but you're not a resident
Right.
here. So the residency card, the city's residency requirement is you have to be here 6 months.
Sure.
And you can qualify for a subsidy card.
What I'm saying is, do we need to observe that they're a homeowner and that perhaps there is some value in that and the level of access?
But does that homeowner have an established?
Throwing it out there for discussion.
No, does that homeowner have an established place where they've had their boats before?
That I'm not seeing in the email, so I'm not sure.
Lisa, maybe this would help you a little bit. So if you are a homeowner and you've had purchased a home years ago, but you've been using it as a vacation rental, and now you're choosing to retire here, we would still apply that you are not a full-time resident yet until you've been here for a minimum of 6 months, and that you're actually residing 5 days a week. So that helps in that sense, that it doesn't entitle you to anything, even though you are a homeowner.
Okay.
Does that?
Yeah.
And Yesenia, do you have any comments?
So far, I'm agreeing. I don't not feel comfortable with the part-time.
Okay, thank you.
Could we just add in here something about the residency, because it just says residents who reside in Avalon? Do we want to just clarify what residency is?
It would be full-time residents who reside in Avalon will be permitted to place and keep their boats in the harbor on city moorings and non-city moorings. Full-time residents are defined as defined in the commuter subsidy program. Would that work, Scott?
Yes, that does.
Great.
Do we have any comments, Michael?
Anybody calling in?
Nope.
Okay.
No comments.
Okay, then, discuss, modify, and...
If I could just read what the motion would be. The motion would be to modify the urgency ordinance U1186-20 of the City of Avalon, consisting of additional measures that will further address COVID-19 emergency and help protect the health, safety, and welfare of Avalon residents by adding Section C to Section 5 with the language as described by Denise Ratty that she mentioned previously, and that all readings of the ordinance be waived.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Will you please have the vote?
We have to do it via...
We'll be calling them out. Mayor Marshall,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cassidy,
Yes.
Councilmember De La Rosa,
Yes.
Councilmember Lavelle,
Yes.
Councilmember Ponce.
Yes.
And, I'm sorry, I just wanted to add one thing, is this town's full of perceptions, right? So not only did the young boy, we said no to him, and I don't want any thoughts that because he's a city employee, we're making an exception. That is not the case here. He's a volunteer fireman. I get it, but this has nothing to do, and we said no from the beginning, and we're only changing it now through you guys, so there's no collusion or any type of favorite treatment.
You're absolutely right. I had
just want that for the
actually said that because I was thinking how much better do you establish residency than that. So I apologize if I created that perception.
Just wanted to clarify with everybody.
And I have a question. So some of us were contacted by someone else in the community, and it's like they're going to have their boats repowered at the boatyard.
Mm-hmm.
For now, that person would not be able to come over until this is all done.
Well, he can go to the boatyard anytime he wants. He just won't be able to come into city limits. You see what I'm saying? I guess
can drive it there.
the
Okay.
boatyard is in city limits, so I would assume that would be a no.
Denise, is that a no? Scott, that's a no?
He would have to use the crane to get out of the water, or through.
I think you're talking that he wanted to be able to go over to the mechanic's barge.
No, and, well, there was a two-part. One was the barge, and the other one was to have his boat repowered, perhaps, and right now, that would not be possible.
As the rule stands now.
Now, this ordinance only goes to transient occupancies on our moorings.
Say that again?
The ordinance that you adopted is a transient occupancy ordinance that applies to city moorings. They technically could bring it if there was an essential purpose for it. Just bringing your boat over is probably not allowed because that's not an essential purpose if you're having it fixed, because you could have it fixed over town. You could bring it over, have it fixed, and then it could go on to a mooring if you are a full-time resident. But I don't think you can just have your boat brought over, have it fixed, and then attach it to a mooring or keep it in the yard if you are not eventually going to put it on a mooring and you're a full-time resident.
Okay, so the person would come over, bring the boat over to Caleb, and when the motors are done, would take the boat back to Timbuktu.
Well, the question is, so why would he be coming over to the city to do it? Is that an essential business? Is the city the only place that individual can get the boat fixed?
Currently his boat's in Santa Barbara, so no, this wouldn't be the only place.
No, it wouldn't be the only place.
So I don't think that there's a justification for allowing, because with the stay-at-home prohibition that the county has and that the city has put in, bringing your boat to Avalon to have it fixed and then going back is not an essential business for that person because they can get it fixed elsewhere. Okay. If that the same thing would apply then to everyone who wants to come over to the city and get toilet paper or paper towels in the Vons because you have them there in Avalon and they're not available in Overtown. Okay. If you can do it over town, you can't make a day trip to Avalon to do your shopping and go back. That would violate the stay-at-home order.
So this person would say, but he himself has an essential business, but that does not matter, correct?
Well, correct, because it would apply, that person has an essential business, but the customer doesn't have a reason to leave home to go to an essential business that is available at another location closer to that person's home.
Okay.
The whole purpose of the governor's order is to keep people as close to home as possible.
Okay. Now, I appreciate that because I'm sure there will be a call or two made at some point after this meeting.
We've already had that problem.
And we've all, there's been a few of us. So anyway, here it is again. Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted to know.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. And do we want to move on to...
Second item for general business was just to discuss the current closure of the dive park and the golf course. That was at your request, Mayor?
Yes. So...
1 second.
I'm sorry. Okay, so I brought this up because I'm sure many of us have been approached, some of us have been approached by people saying, and why can't we open the golf course?
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I had a question from the last...
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no, thank you.
Somebody had called for a clarification, but I was just telling that Jordan, I don't know if they still have the person on the phone, so I don't know if we can still take it. I just told them that the motion had already done, and the public discussion part of that was already closed, but if anybody has clarification, they're more than welcome to send an email out, and we'll get an answer to them.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so the golf course and the dive park. And you hear it, well, the dive park is recreation for the residents, and the golf course is residents, and they're opening up golf courses on the mainland with social distancing and 4 on the course and all of that. And so kind of went into discussion, but then when I sat down and just happened to have the 3 big ones in the room, And oh my gosh, they're just like you're talking, it's all about safety and whatever. This isn't forever, number one. And the other one is, and why are we so special?
If I could just mention something, Mayor, the issue is with the golf courses in opening on the mainland. They're opening in counties other than Los Angeles. Los Angeles County has not allowed golf course to open. So I'm just saying, they have made the decision for you, unfortunately.
Scott, I know that. I know that. If we are sitting in so many damn meetings listening to all the rules all around the United States, we know that. Thank you very much for clarifying that. However...
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the citizens know that they can't complain to you about it. They need to go to the county and complain.
But we like the complaints and the concerns. Come on, so don't... that's what our job is, okay? So, and we listen to our folks here. So, so anyway, when I was talking to the assistant city manager, the city manager, and the finance director in there, all basically with the same thing. We are listening to the county and following the county order, and that has worked out fine. So let's kind of keep it that way because we're not looking at that much longer. And how we go forth with all of these when we do our soft openings and whatever, I'm sure we will be taking some leads from what the other counties have done that has worked for them. We're learning we're learning from them, which is also great. But the other thing is, and wanting to have a little discussion is, since we didn't have a council meeting when we didn't have it. People are saying, and what the heck is the island doing? What is City Hall doing? And of course, we all know there's a lot going on. However, everybody is so curious about how are we going to lay this thing out and how are we going to slow this and whatever. And that is a monumental task that lies before us all, whether the date be May 16th, June 1st, or September 1st. I mean, and all of that, a lot of that, in my mind, will fall to Catalina Express, which is our largest carrier of passengers. And they, at this time, as things change, don't even know how they would dictate use if we were to open. So there is still a learning curve, and something that I know that all of us are thinking about daily, because we're approached daily, when can I open my hotel and what am I going to do, and I'm going to have to distance. We don't have that information yet, and that's what, so I guess after I spoke to the three the other day, I was like, okay, I surrender, I get it, I feel like, yes, we have brought it forward. I was told why not, and I totally am in support of what the staff has said, and that's it. So if any of you want to chime in or have a comment or yay or nay, that's fine.
Mayor, I'd just like to make sure that the public is aware that on May 5th, our regularly scheduled council meeting, there will be several things happening that evening. The first one will be we'll have a representative from the Catalina Island Medical Center again, giving us another wonderful update on COVID-19. Then we are going to have our finance director, Matt, and he's going to give us a very detailed this will be very different from the other two presentations that the City Council and the public has received, and we are going to really go over all our programs that we've cut, further ones that are coming, to contracts that we've cut, services that the city is no longer going to be able to have, and then we are going to go right into staff's idea if we were to open the town up slowly. I hope that you guys are receiving some comments from our residents on how they feel, yay or nay, or how they'd like to see it. So staff will be presenting ideas to you on how we think, and it's really going to be up to the council to adopt that policy as far as which businesses in which order and what strategic things, policies that each one of those entail, from hotels to restaurants to the golf course to any tour businesses, anything that. And I heard today, I wasn't able to listen to the governor's speech, but I heard that he's laid it out in 4 different phases, and so we'll be using some of that, as well as other counties, as you said, Mayor, that we are learning from other counties that have opened up something. So next Tuesday will be a very involved meeting, and I hope it will be very beneficial to the residents of Avalon.
Does anybody want to talk on any of this?
Well, I agree that there's a lot of requests for why can't I do this and why can't I do that and why can't we, open this up and open that up. And I mean, wholeheartedly, I believe we've all been quarantined over here for 5 weeks together already. So I would love to see us open our beaches, but I don't have this as a full-time job where we can take every single, well, I want to go to this spot and I want to do this and I want to do that. I mean, it's just too much to try to take them one-ups. If we allow the golf course to open and the dive park to open, I feel that we need to allow the beaches to open. And I'm super bummed out that we spend the kind of money that we spend to live in this environment, and this is the first time we would ever really be able to enjoy hot weather with nobody else on the beaches, and we can't even do that. And it's just a massive bummer.
Yeah.
So I don't want to. We've said all along that we can't pick and choose what we want to follow from LA County, and I don't think it's fair to fight for 1 or 2 aspects when we have this group of residents who want to be able to go to the beach and this group of residents that want to be able to go do something else. It's just, we just can't really pick and choose, and it's just a bummer.
It is a good word.
I forgot one important thing. I wanted to make sure that it isn't just staff that's going to be coming forward with these ideas. It's reaching out to some businesses and that group that we talk to 3 times a week now, as well as there's 2 days a week that we are talking to another group of businesses. So we will be providing you with all that information and feedback.
And I've requested stuff in writing. Haven't really gotten it in writing, but I've met with people and they've given me, as I'm sure they have all of you, kind of what they're thinking, or what their questions are, more than what they really want to be able to take lead from us and then be able to proceed. So
far, I've only received 3 emails. One that you guys have forwarded to me, and the other 2 I was also CC'd on. So I hope that we do hear from the community, so we'll know what they're thinking.
Can I also just recommend that anybody who, I did have one particular person say that they only have a phone and they're not comfortable typing in an email. So I just want to say that if you've got a smartphone, you can use dictation and you can just talk into the phone. That will send us an email, set it all up, and then just dictate your message to us. It doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be, grammatically correct and all that, but dictate your message to us, because Facebook isn't going to be considered, and also, calling in and sending emails ahead of time. But I think people can call in and maybe leave messages as well too.
Yes.
That we can use, but you can dictate from your phone. That takes a huge burden off those that aren't comfortable typing.
I've gotten a lot of requests, just like everyone has, about certain things, and one of the ideas that I had, which I had asked Denise earlier today, how far we've gotten with asking LA County about exceptions if we were to go that route, and have gotten to a level of staff with LA County, but not necessarily asking actually the board of directors. And what I'm wondering is the idea of having access for limited access, if it can be managed, if it's either part of the first phase of reopening or if it's part of something before reopening even, of looking at, because we're surrounded by water and we don't have the level of people currently, could people have access to enter the water without loitering or staying on beaches or at the dive park? I don't know if it's something that we want to maybe consider asking for, writing a letter to them on behalf of the council, if anyone would be in support of that. It would avoid the issues with social distancing, but would allow people to at least get in the ocean and have a swim or have a dive or go for a paddle or go for a kayak, where they're not staying close to people, they're socially distancing still, they're maintaining that safe level of access without having to lay out on the beach. So you can't lay out on the beach, you can't put a towel out, you can't put shade structures out, you can't have a group of friends and have your coldies and be able to just hang out. It would literally just be for swim access and water access only. But it seems if a boater can get into their boat and go out onto the water and do all of those things and they're socially distancing, why are we limiting people who don't own boats to be able to do that?
I mean, it's the same as everything else. You know, I could go with my daughter and go golfing and not see or come near anyone else. But then, you know, we might have a group of 12 guys that are going to go and not social distance and not stay within their family unit. We might have, you know, a family go down, and then the kids' family comes, or the friends of the kids want to come and go swimming too, and so wants to go because so gets to go. And
I get it.
I mean,
it's
it's just,
I'm just saying, even if we're not considering it now, if we're looking at it for one of the first sets of reopening.
I think that's probably exactly what, something like that exactly was what
I missed
would
that part.
happen.
I apologize. Yeah. That's the first thing I'm going to try to open is beaches.
Right.
Yeah. And there we go with the exception, trying to look for the exception again, or the exemption or whatever. So, but water's important. And I hear it's warming up. Somebody must have stuck their toe in.
I'm on Facebook all the time.
The dive park issue, part of this is, you know, our biggest concern is that if it's open and people see it, they put it on Facebook. Hey, we're diving now. I mean, we've had several calls from dive shops on the mainland. Now they're fighting the fight over there at the Express because now people are coming over bringing their dive stuff. This is a short period of time. We've made it almost to the end. You know, let's not waver. Let's, you know, this is work. I know I'm a golfer and I'd love to go play golf, you know, and I'm all for opening it up. But it's not smart. So at least not right now. And then once the numbers start dropping down and we're not afraid of a resurgence, then we go from there. But we're close. So just everybody hang in there and hang tough. It's just, it's crazy. No, we never would have thought we'd seen this in our lifetime. So that's the dive park issue as far as I was concerned.
Sarah, do you have any thoughts?
Matt, can you remember to wipe the stuff in between, please?
I'm agreeing with JJ. I don't think that the dive park's a good idea. I see it a lot on social media as well. As for the golf course, I know it's going to be a trickle effect, but if we're considering maybe for the first stage, I don't know if there's a way for us to maybe check resident cards before people start their rounds.
Okay, that might be a consideration when we do this. But, yeah, thank you.
Just to kind of expand on Annie's comments in our conversation from yesterday, I fully am aware of the economic challenges this is causing, but my new biggest concern is that if we were to lift restrictions early, experience a surge in cases, and have to reset the clock, if you will, on lockdown, a second lockdown would be even more devastating to our economy. A second lockdown would really hurt consumer confidence in the island. And so I understand and share everyone's frustrations, but my new biggest economic or financial concern is what happens if we act too soon and that results in a surge and a second lockdown. And I'm willing to risk a couple weeks in May if that means protecting July. And so that's kind of some of my rationale, and that's what I shared with Annie yesterday.
Yeah, very good.
Sacrifice May to save July.
Yeah, thank you.
On a hospital information part of it, Catalina Island has not broken the curve. We've had 2 people test positive. That's nowhere near where we would need to be to break the curve. We still have we would still be up. We have not.
The curve hasn't come yet?
We have not really hit the curve here. We've not brought that down. we're still all susceptible to it because we haven't had enough people exposed to it. So we've had 2 people. We still need to knock down our part of that. So we open it up. The one thing we don't want to be is one of those hotspots.
Yeah.
So we've got to do this in a logical manner, taking in all the information that we can gather to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And it goes to, let's look at having a fantastic July. But we have, the island itself is not broken the code. Because we've only had 2 cases. And we don't want them here. We don't want to get them here. But we're still susceptible to it.
And on that positive note, we're going to adjourn the meeting. No, Michael, did you have anything you wanted to say?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Can I say one thing now? I will not engage in a conversation or discussion on Facebook on anything, but some people have made comments. I want people to understand, go to the city webpage, go to the hospital webpage, go to the county's webpage. All the information that you need to know to help you get through this is there. All the work that all these organizations have done is there. So you can bash each other all you want on Facebook. That's not going to help. Go to those sites, read the information that's there. Answers can be there if you have questions, not bashing or ratting out somebody that had 6 people on the golf cart. I've lived here for 24 years. I don't know every single soul in this town. I don't know what every single soul in this town looks like. So just don't assume. And just ask. Just ask the person. But the answers are on each organization's webpage as to what is going on and how we're going to get through this right now. I love Facebook. I love getting on Facebook and posting stuff on Facebook. I will not engage in these types of conversations on Facebook. And you're more than welcome to email me here at the city. So if you want to discuss, but I will not engage on Facebook.
Thank you. I believe that's kind of the opinion.
Well said, Michael.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. No, thank you for that. Okay, if there's no further comments, meeting's adjourned.